In this video, we will be talking about the first three tabs in the top menu bar. We would be creating an engine, and we would be saving the engine, loading it, and deleting it as well. We would be adding and removing frames and exploring the structure of the engine. And then we would be visualizing those engines as well. And we might also take a look at the managed log files and how those got populated and how we can delete some of those and free up those. So let's start with that right now. So first thing first is whenever you are in fullrmc, if you put your mouse on an icon, you would have a pop-up menu about a certain help for the icon description, or it tells you what this icon is about. So for example here, I'll put that back. If you go to engine name, it tells you here you need to set the name of the engine. It must be a valid alphanumerical name, and it can contain underscores and dash, and it must be unique as per the engine saved in your account. So let me start doing this now. I'll go to test, I'll call it test. And the next option you have is that you can import an engine from your local drive. And that engine, the importable engines, normally they are engines that you exported earlier from the web version of fullrmc. So we're not going to do that right now. We're going to create an empty engine. So let's create that. Here it is created, and now you can find it here. So I'll go about loading that engine, and I have the engine loaded, and you need to also to look at the logs here. It tells you exactly what's happening. So for example, I logged in here, we created and saved the engine here, and now the engine is loaded. So if we go to update and manage, we can visualize the account general logging. It shows when I logged in, and then that I used one license token, and it shows me when I saved the engine and that the engine is successfully saved. What I need to know is that the information about the engine is not stored in the engine because it wasn't loaded at the time it was about to be created. So now I can go about and visualize the log for the engine itself, and it only shows me when the engine is loaded, and everything after that it will be shown in here. So now let's go back here, and let me go back to the engine tab, and now I have it here. I want to try to delete the engine, to take it out of my local drive. And this engine, or whatever engine you delete, the action of deleting the engine is not reversible. Once you delete it, you lose it. Let's do that. So yes, I want to delete the engine. Engine is successfully deleted. It's no more available in here for me. It's deleted. So a normal thing to do now is to go here and also delete the logs for the engine. To do that, I would select the engine title, so I'll make sure to delete all the logs of the engine. Here I have only one log, so I don't need to select the title, but just for the purpose of the demo. And then I go about deleting the logs, and the logs are deleted, and now I freed up some space. So let's go back to engine, and now let me try to create an engine that is on my local drive. So I know that's a molecular system. I'll go about and create that system. And right there, I have the exported engine that I exported earlier, just for the sake of the demo. I'll put it in here, and then I'll go about creating the engine. So this action might take some time because it needs to import the engine from my local drive up to the cloud and do the creation of the engine. So you can follow the logs, building the codified engine, and it's building the constraints and all what it needs to put the engine in the system in the cloud for me to work with. So let's wait for that. Now the engine is being saved, and here we go. The engine is saved. Let's go and take a look now at the logs again. Read that, and you see all of those information are saved for you in here also. So now let me go back here, and I want to create another engine that we would be populating later, and this engine is an atomic nickel titanium. So I'm going to create an empty engine for now. It is created. I'm going to be using this engine, load that engine. So now you see that I have two engines in my fullrmc's account. I can shuffle between those. I can create as many as I want, as much as I'm allowed to. Now I'm using this one, and when you look here, it tells you that the engine that you're using is atomic nickel titanium. It's created in fullrmc's version 5.0. On your cloud disk storage, this engine has only one directory underneath it, 63 files. It has only one frame, and the currently used frame is frame 0. Let me change that, load this engine, and now you will see different stuff. So you would see that this engine is a molecular THF. It's also created with fullrmc version 5.0. It has 7 directories, 195 files. It has only one frame, and the currently used frame is frame 0. So let's forget about that. Go back to load the other engine. And now this is all what you can do here in this engine page, pretty much. Let's go to the frames page. So this engine now is empty. The first thing to do is to set the PDB structure for that engine. The engine has no structure yet, and you can see from here, from this section, you can see that the structure is empty. The number of atoms is 0, the number of molecules is 0. There's pretty much nothing. So let me go about setting a PDB structure. So this is a system PDB structure I'm going to be working with. I'll load that and I'll set the PDB. And here you have it. Used frame 0 PDB structure is successfully set. And when you look at that, now everything is populated for you. So now this engine has 6,750 atoms, 6,750 molecules, because each atom is a molecule by itself in this engine. And the boundary conditions for the engines are periodic, of volume that much, and the number density is that much. It's calculated as per the number of atoms and the periodic boundary conditions. You can also look here and see what the boundary conditions are. So it's a cubic system of length 45.75 angstroms in X, Y, and Z. You can also explore the information in those and in this PDB structure, in this PDB file, and it tells you all the parsed information. This is probably a lot. We're not going to go through all of that. I'll let you explore it once you're working with it. So what I want to do now, remember what we have here, especially this part, number of atoms, number of molecules. I'll go back here. I'll change the engine just to show you what's going to happen. So now the engine is loaded. I'll go here. So that's a different engine with different boundary conditions, different number density. I have 9,490 atoms. I have 730 molecules because this is a molecular system. What I want to do now is to show you that molecular system. I'll go to Viewer. I will select how I want to visualize it. So I'm going to choose balls and sticks. And I'm going to visualize the atoms by the element symbol. I will add that. And here you have it. This is the molecular system I have. So you can see I have molecules. I can zoom in, zoom out. I can do all what I want to. I am not going to do a lot of visualization in here. I will let you explore it and work with it by yourselves. So just look at this. That's a molecular system. I'll go back here. I want to load the atomic engine again. And I will go to Viewer. And what I want to do is element symbol. I want to view balls and sticks. And I will add this. And this is my engine. This is a crystalline system that I can also simulate in fullrmc. So what I want to do now is I want to create some additional frames, because in fullrmc you can do that. And normally when you use fullrmc is for testing hypotheses. And those hypotheses that you test, sometimes they are valid, sometimes they give you a good answer, sometimes they don't. But also you can use frames to store those hypotheses and not losing them. So now let me create a frame here. So the original frame that is created by default, it's frame 0. And I will create another frame. I'll call it translation. I can give it any name, because here, for example, I want to test translating, I don't know, translation along x-axis. I'll give it any name that makes sense to me. So I know that in this frame, I would be testing moving the atoms layers along the x-axis. It doesn't need to be that way. You can do whatever you want to. You can give the name of the frame anything you like. You can even change the name of the frame. So this is frame 0. I will call it frame default. And here you have it. Reload it, and now I have default and translation axis. Okay. So this is frame default. I can switch between frames. And when I switch between frames, if the frame has never been used before, it will inherit all the properties of the frame that was used before. So this way you can juggle between frames one to another and perform your simulation and your atomic modeling in a historical manner. You test the hypotheses, you jump to another one, you test the other one. You do not lose track of what you're doing, and you don't need to go back to ground zero every time you want to test the hypothesis. So this is all what is it about. And one last thing to mention is that now I create another frame. So you see that I added a directory in here. I have additional files, and a lot of things happened under the hood for you that fullrmc took care of.